The morning after my mother turned my life into a public relations incident, I learned that silence can be louder than scandal. It has weight, polish, and, apparently, a jeweler on speed dial. By 7:30, my phone had become an enemy. My mother had sent 6 messages before breakfast. Good morning, darling. Sleep softens resistance. Not entirely, obviously. You have your father's stubbornness and my timing. I'm sending ring options. Do not be dramatic. Actually, be dramatic if you must. Just be decisive. Alexandra has excellent hands. Consider that. That last message was practical, not inappropriate. I stared at the screen from the kitchen island, barefoot, still in a silk robe, with coffee going cold beside me. My mother was a widow, a philanthropist, a board member, a social force, and apparently a menace before 8 in the morning. Kate's messages were worse because they were funnier. Daniel says congratulations, but also he wants to know if Mom has the legal authority to assign spouses now. I told him she has no legal authority. Only emotional terrorism and excellent stationery. Is Alex moving in? Please say no. Actually, please say yes, but only if you intend to send me updates. I typed back with one thumb. Nothing is decided. Kate answered immediately. That means something is being decided. You are becoming mother. Take that back. No. Cruel. Accurate, but cruel. I set the phone down and looked around my kitchen as if it might offer counsel. It did not. My kitchen was one of the reasons I bought the house. White plaster walls, dark wood beams, hand-painted blue and cream tile behind the stove, brass fixtures that had aged into warmth instead of shine. It was the kind of kitchen people imagined cooking in on slow Sundays, barefoot, with music playing and someone they loved stealing fruit from the counter. In reality, I used it mostly for coffee, protein bars, and standing alone while answering emails. The house had character. I had systems. The house wanted someone to live in it. I had quarterly projections. That was fine. That was healthy. That was a perfectly respectable arrangement between a woman and her real estate. My phone buzzed again. Alex, are you alive? I looked at the message longer than necessary. Then I typed, unfortunately. Good. Your mother sent me rings. Destroy your phone. Tempting. One option has side stones. I think she's escalating. Ignore her. I tried that at 6:42. At 6:49 she sent me a photo of your hand from the gala. I closed my eyes. Of course she had. I apologize for my mother. That feels like a full-time job. It is unpaid. You should unionize. I did not smile. I absolutely did not smile. I simply experienced a brief, involuntary facial malfunction. I have a cancellation at 1. Come by the studio. We need to talk before your mother chooses a diamond with political influence. I have work. So do I. You invited me to your workplace. Yes. Since your mother invited me into your life. This feels balanced. Balanced. I hated that word now. 1 o'clock. 30 minutes. 45. 35. See you at 1. I looked at the screen. She had not agreed to 35. Of course she had not. Alexandra Brooks had a way of sounding cooperative while doing exactly what she intended. I found that invasive. And efficient. Which was worse. By 10, the company had become aware of the rumor. No one said anything directly at first. That was the benefit and curse of high-performing employees. They understood hierarchy, discretion, and the silent violence of curiosity. My chief of staff, Elena, entered my office with a tablet and the face of someone trying not to know something. Your 10:30 was moved to 11, she said. Good. And the Phoenix deck is ready. Good. And Mrs. Vale from the museum board sent flowers. I looked up. Elena placed a cream envelope on my desk. Congratulations to you and Alexandra. Such a beautiful surprise. I read it once. Then again. Then I looked at Elena. Her expression remained professional. Heroic woman. Put them somewhere no one will interpret, I said. That may be difficult. Why? They're white roses. I stared at her. Elena stared back. They look bridal, she said very carefully. I leaned back in my chair. Of course they do. Would you like me to send them home? No. Then it looks intentional. Would you like me to dispose of them? That looks guilty. Would you like me to say thank you and place them in the second conference room? I pointed at her. That is why I pay you. She nodded. Also, your mother called. No. I didn't answer. Excellent. She left a message. Delete it. I thought so. Elena turned to leave, then paused. Vivienne. Yes. Her face softened in a way I did not appreciate during business hours. Are you all right? I held her gaze. I could have said yes. It would have been easier. Instead I said, I am being aggressively loved. Elena's mouth twitched. Understood, she said. Then she left, and I sat alone in my office, staring at the city beyond the glass. Not a penthouse office. Not exactly. The building had height, yes, and money, and the kind of views investors enjoyed because they made risk look clean. But my actual office was warmer than people expected. Walnut shelves. Framed architectural sketches. A rug from my father's old study that my mother insisted looked better with me than it ever had with him. My father had liked old things. Not expensive old things necessarily. Useful old things. Solid things. He used to say that a room should have at least one object in it that had survived someone else's bad decisions. I wondered what he would have said about my current situation. Probably something gentle. Probably something unhelpful. Probably he would have looked at my mother, sighed, and said, Evelyn, darling, did you start with consent or arrive there later? Then she would have kissed him on the cheek and ignored the question. I missed him suddenly. Not dramatically. Not as an ache that took over the room. Just as a warm absence. Something steady that would have stood between my mother's certainty and my own pride and made both of us behave slightly better. My phone buzzed again. Don't forget Alexandra at 1. I am not a child. No, darling. Children are easier to direct. I set the phone face down. At 1 o'clock, I arrived at Alex's studio, prepared to be unimpressed. That was my third mistake. The building sat on a quiet side street in West Hollywood behind a discreet gate and a wall of climbing jasmine. No neon. No loud branding. No glass front full of people punishing themselves on treadmills in public. A small brass plaque beside the door simply read, A. Brooks Studio. Private training and wellness. Understated. Annoyingly tasteful. Inside, the space smelled faintly of cedar, citrus, and clean linen. Sunlight poured through high windows onto pale wood floors. There were reformer machines, mats, free weights arranged with almost architectural precision, shelves of towels, a small consultation room with books on movement, recovery, anatomy, stress, and performance. It did not feel like a gym. It felt like a place where powerful people came to be told the truth in good lighting. A woman in her late 60s walked out of the main studio as I entered, silver hair pulled into a perfect low bun, diamond tennis bracelet flashing against a black workout set. Her face was flushed. Her posture was excellent. Her expression suggested she had been both tortured and improved. Alex followed her, holding a tablet. Hydrate before the car, Alex said. The woman waved a hand. Yes, yes. I mean it, Gloria. I know you do. That's why you're so irritating. You pay extra for irritating. I pay extra for results. And yet results prefer water. Gloria rolled her eyes, then saw me. Her gaze sharpened. People in Los Angeles recognized each other without always knowing from where. It was a survival skill. Vivienne Dawson, she said. Gloria, I said warmly because I did know her. Museum board. Real estate family. Terrifying bridge player. Her eyes moved from me to Alex, then back to me. The rumor had legs already. Marvelous. I won't keep you, Gloria said, smiling in a way that suggested she absolutely would keep this information. Alexandra, Thursday? 10, Alex said. And don't glare at me if I bring complaints. I never glare. I educate with my face. Gloria laughed, touched Alex's arm with genuine affection, and left. I looked at Alex. She likes you, I said. Most people do eventually. That must be exhausting for them. Only in the beginning. She wore black leggings, a sleeveless dark green top, and no makeup I could identify. Her hair was pulled back, which did absolutely nothing to make her less distracting. In fact, it made the line of her neck more visible. Unhelpful. Professionally unacceptable, really. You're staring, she said. I'm observing. Rich people love that word. I am not here as a rich person. No. I am here as a victim of maternal fraud. Alex smiled and gestured toward the consultation room. Then let's discuss damages. The consultation room had 2 chairs, a low table, a wall of books, and a window overlooking a small courtyard filled with olive trees in large clay pots. Again tasteful. Again irritating. I sat. Alex did not sit immediately. She stood by the shelves, scrolling through her tablet. You have a nice studio, I said. Her eyes lifted. A small pause. Then, thank you. You sound surprised. I am. Why? You arrived prepared to hate it. I arrived prepared to evaluate it. Vivienne. What? That is the expensive version of hate. I looked out the window. Wrong woman, sweetheart. Not funny. Not charming. Not working. Mostly. Alex sat across from me and set the tablet down. No phones, she asked. Why? Because your mother has texted me 3 times since you walked in. I took out my phone. For messages, don't be brittle. Listen before refusing. Alexandra has better instincts than you think. This is not interference. This is strategic optimism. I turned the phone face down on the table. Alex did the same with hers. Your mother, she said, is a gifted criminal. Yes. I see the appeal. I'm sorry. She believes in her crimes. That is not appeal. That is danger. It can be both. You two should never be left unsupervised. She said the same about us. I stared at her. Alex smiled, but it faded quickly. Good. Because this was not a flirtation. This was my life sitting between us in a room full of eucalyptus-scented calm, pretending to be negotiable. I'll start, Alex said. How generous. If we do this, no other people. You've mentioned. I'm repeating it because you have a very polished way of treating things you dislike as if they were decorative noise. That is not true. It is extremely true. I crossed one leg over the other. And if I agree to exclusivity, then I agree to. How noble. How basic. I looked at her. Alex leaned forward, elbows loosely on her knees. I mean it, she said. I'm not asking for romance on command. I'm not asking you to look at me across the breakfast table like your mother hired a violinist. She would. I know. I've begun preparing emotionally. Good. But if we wear rings and call this an engagement, I'm not dating anyone else and neither are you. I don't date often. That's not the same as agreeing. I'm aware. Good. Her calm was beginning to bother me. Not because it was false. Because it was not. Alex did not seem thrilled. She did not seem eager to trap me. She was not performing some charming acceptance of absurdity. She was simply taking the situation seriously and refusing to let me turn seriousness into furniture. It was extremely inconvenient. What else? I asked. Honesty. Vague. Not really. If something bothers you, say it. That sounds exhausting. It's less exhausting than punishing everyone in a room with your cheekbones. I blinked. My what? You heard me. That was inappropriate. That was observational. You cannot weaponize compliments during negotiation. Sure I can. I tried not to smile. Failed internally. Recovered externally. Anything else? I asked. Yes. I keep my clients. My schedule changes only where necessary. You don't get to absorb my life because your mother took creative liberties with yours. I have no interest in absorbing your life. Good. I barely have time for my own. I noticed. You know nothing about my schedule. I know you treat rest like a software bug. I stared at her. She looked pleased with herself. That was not bad, I admitted. I have range. Clearly. And you? What about me? What do you need? The question was too direct. People asked me what I wanted from a deal, a project, an acquisition, a market, a quarter. They did not often ask me what I needed without already preparing to use it against me. I looked toward the courtyard. Discretion, I said. Given. Control over public exposure. Reasonable. No sentimental performances. Alex tilted her head. Define sentimental. No dramatic handholding. No staged romance. No posts. No captions about love being unexpected. Specific trauma? Los Angeles. Fair. No lying to my team beyond what is necessary. Agreed. No unnecessary touching. The second I said it, the air changed. Not loudly. Not visibly. But my body knew it. Alex sat back slightly. Define unnecessary. I looked at her. She did not smile. That was worse. Public touching for credibility, I said. Limited. Intentional. And private. None. None. Yes. That's your plan. That's my boundary. Alex studied me. Not unkindly. That was also worse. Separate lives, she said. Structured lives. Separate bedrooms? I lifted my chin. Obviously. Alex laughed. Not cruelly. Openly. Immediately. I went cold. I'm glad my boundary amuses you. I'm sorry, she said, still smiling. I am. But separate bedrooms. Yes. Vivienne, we're not running a suspiciously elegant boarding school. I stared at her. She leaned back in her chair, laughter still in her eyes. You want me to move into your house, wear your ring, attend your dinners, smile at your mother, convince Arthur Wexley and half of Los Angeles that we are committed, and then sleep down the hall like a Victorian cousin? That is an unnecessarily vivid phrasing. It's an unnecessarily ridiculous plan. It is practical. It is a guest policy with jewelry. It is a boundary. It is a wall. Walls are useful. Sometimes, Alex said. Sometimes they just make people decorate loneliness and call it taste. I looked away. Too accurate. Too soon. You're very comfortable in other people's interior lives, I said. No. I'm comfortable noticing when people pretend not to have them. I stood. It was not dramatic. It was strategic. Mostly. I have another meeting. Alex remained seated, looking up at me with annoying composure. It's been 28 minutes. I rounded. Down. Aggressively. She rose too. Close. Not too close. Enough. Enough for me to notice that she smelled like cedar and something clean, maybe bergamot. Enough for my body to remember that the woman in front of me knew exactly how bodies worked and, more dangerously, how they avoided working. If we do this, Alex said, I'm not pretending. You keep saying that. Because you keep trying to build a version where we do. My pulse moved once hard. I hated that too. This is not a real marriage, I said. No, she said. Not yet. I stared at her. Her face did not change. The confidence. Honestly, it should have been illegal in enclosed spaces. You're assuming a lot, I said. I'm allowing for more. That is not the comfort you think it is. It wasn't meant to comfort you. Then what was it meant to do? Alex looked at me for a moment. To be true. I had no answer to that. Which was root of truth, frankly. At the door, she stopped me with one more sentence. Jeweler at 4:30. I turned slowly. Excuse me. Your mother booked it. I'm not going. I know. Good. I'm going. I stared. Alex folded her arms. If there's going to be a ring on my hand, I'm choosing it. If there's going to be one on yours, you should choose that too. Unless you want your mother selecting something that says tasteful hostage situation. The image landed so clearly that I almost laughed. Almost. She cannot just book appointments for us. She did. I am canceling. I'm sure she left you that illusion out of affection. My phone buzzed on the table. So did hers. Neither of us looked. Alex smiled faintly. 4:30, she said. I left the studio with my dignity mostly intact and my blood pressure less so. At 4:29, I walked into a private jewelry salon in Beverly Hills because apparently I had no survival instincts. The salon was not a store. Stores had counters and price tags and tourists. This place had velvet chairs, champagne, quiet security, and a woman named Elise who greeted my mother as if they had hidden bodies together. Evelyn, Elise said, kissing her cheek. Always a pleasure. Usually, my mother said. Vivienne, Elise said, turning to me. You look beautiful. Thank you. And Alexandra, Elise said warmly. Congratulations. Alex stood beside me in a dark blazer and trousers, looking calm enough to be dangerous. Thank you, she said. I gave her a look. She did not even pretend not to see it. My mother sat on a pale velvet sofa like a queen accepting tribute. I asked Elise to pull a few options, she said. I'm shocked you showed restraint, I replied. I didn't. Elise edited me. Elise smiled professionally, which meant she had seen everything and judged nothing she could not invoice. A tray arrived. Then another. Then a third. Diamonds under soft light have a way of making even intelligent people briefly primitive. They glittered in clean, precise rows. Emerald cuts, ovals, asters, delicate pave bands, antique stones with warmer fire, modern settings with severe lines. I felt nothing. That was good. Feeling nothing was safe. My mother leaned forward. The oval is lovely. It is large enough to require permits, I said. Alex glanced at it. It could guide planes in fog. Elise's smile trembled. My mother looked delighted. That is why I bring her places. No, I said. You bring her places because you have no respect for peace. Peace is often laziness in softer shoes. Alex murmured, That's going in my notes. I looked at her. Do not encourage the doctrine. Elise placed a smaller tray before me. These are less traditional, she said. Still elegant. More personal. Personal. There was that word again, behaving badly. I looked because it was easier than arguing. One ring caught my eye despite my best efforts. An emerald-cut diamond set east-west on a simple platinum band. Clean, architectural, not delicate but not loud. It did not beg to be adored. It simply existed with good proportions and a refusal to sparkle unnecessarily. I hated that I liked it. Alex noticed immediately. Of course she did. That one, she said. I looked up. I didn't say anything. You didn't have to. I have a face. You have several. That was the honest one. My mother made a soft, satisfied sound. I ignored her with the discipline of a saint. Elise slipped the ring from the tray and offered it to me. I did not move. It was one thing to discuss madness, another to let it touch your skin. Alex's voice softened. You don't have to. I looked at her. She meant it. No pressure. No tease. No little push. Just the first respectful sentence anyone had said near a diamond all day. That was what made me take the ring. I slid it onto my left hand. It fit. Of course it did. My mother had probably sent Elise my ring size, blood type, and childhood piano schedule. The diamonds sat low and clean against my finger. Beautiful but not sweet. Strong. Quietly expensive. Not romantic in the obvious way. Which made it much worse. It suits you, Alex said. I looked at the ring instead of her. That sounds dangerous. It was just a compliment. From you, those seem to have poor boundaries. Her mouth curved. Elise showed Alex several options next. Alex refused anything too ornate immediately. She chose a band, not a traditional engagement ring. Brushed platinum, subtle, with a small inset diamond nearly hidden along one edge. A ring that looked simple until light found it. Of course. Of course the woman chose a ring with restraint and secret fire. How obnoxiously on theme. My mother watched Alex slide it on. You have excellent taste, she said. Alex looked at her. I know. My mother laughed. I stared at the ceiling. When Elise stepped out to process sizing and insurance, my mother lifted her champagne. To clarity, she said. No, I replied. To progress. No. To fewer Wexleys in your immediate future. I lifted my glass reluctantly. Alex did too. That, I said, I will drink too. We touched glasses. The sound was small. Too small for what it meant. By the time I returned home, the ring was in a box in my purse instead of on my hand. That felt like a victory. A minor one. A pathetic one. Still. My phone buzzed as I walked into the kitchen. A photo from my mother. Alex's hand wearing the ring. She had taken it when I was not looking. Below it, strong choice. Very her. Then yours too. Don't sulk. I typed, stop photographing my crisis. Then stop making it so photogenic. I poured wine. Then decided that drinking alone before dinner because my mother had weaponized romance was too obvious, even for me. At 9:30, Alex called. I stared at her name. Let it ring twice. Answered on the third. Did my mother give you instructions to call? No. Did she suggest it? Yes. Alexandra. I ignored the suggestion and called anyway. I had my own reason, which is, I wanted to ask if you ate dinner. I paused. That was not where I expected the conversation to go. I'm not one of your clients. I know. Most of my clients lie faster. I had dinner. What? Food. Specific. Are you always this controlling? Are you always this evasive? Yes. Then yes. I leaned against the kitchen counter and looked out at the dark garden. I had toast, I said finally. There was a silence. Then Alex said, that is not dinner. It had almond butter. Viv. The name landed differently on the phone. Lower. Closer. I looked at my reflection in the window. Do not react, I told myself. My face ignored me. Don't do that, I said. Do what? Use the short name like it gives you authority. Does it? No. Then we're safe. We are very much not safe. Alex laughed softly. Then she said, eat something real. What an intimate command. It's a practical one. Those often overlap with you. Sometimes. There was another silence. Not awkward. Aware. I hated how quickly we had begun collecting those. Are you still thinking? I asked. Yes. And I think we need to meet tomorrow at your house. My house. If this is moving forward, I need to see where you plan to exile me. I plan no exile. Guest house then. It is not exile if there are high-end linens. That is exactly what an exile with high-end linens would say. I closed my eyes. You are impossible. I've been called worse. I'm sure. Usually by people doing squats. Good night, Alexandra. Good night, Viv. She hung up first. Rude. Strategic. Effective. I stood in the kitchen for a long time after that, then opened the refrigerator and ate leftover fish with a fork while standing barefoot under warm brass light. Not because she told me to. Obviously. Because I had decided independently as an adult. The next afternoon, Alex arrived at my house with a leather tote, a tape measure, and the expression of a woman entering a negotiation she fully intended to win. No, I said when Maria opened the door. Alex paused on the threshold. Good afternoon to you too. No tape measure. I'm not measuring you. I didn't think you were. You looked worried. I looked cautious. You looked like someone afraid I was going to improve her furniture. That would be unwise. I'm assessing space. Why? Because if I'm moving in, I need to know where things go. The hallway went still. Maria, bless her, pretended to adjust flowers. I looked at Alex. If I said, yes. You said if. I did. With a tape measure. I'm optimistic with tools. I heard Maria make a tiny sound and flee toward the kitchen. Traitor. Alex stepped inside. The house shifted around her immediately. Not physically, of course. Houses did not shift because beautiful women with boundary issues entered them carrying leather totes. Still, she looked around with quiet attention, not the hungry appraisal people sometimes brought into expensive homes, not counting value, not measuring status. She noticed texture. Light. The book stacked beside the console. The framed black and white photograph of my father on a sailing trip, laughing into wind. She paused there. Your father, she asked. Yes. He had your eyes. He would have said I had his. Alex smiled faintly. Smart man. He was. The words came out softer than I meant them to. Alex did not press. Another point in her favor. Extremely annoying. I led her through the living room, the library, the terrace, the guest house, the downstairs office, the upstairs corridor. She took it all in with professional calm and personal restraint. Then we reached the East guest suite. This would be yours, I said. Alex stepped inside. It was a beautiful room. Pale walls, linen curtains, antique writing desk, a view of the garden, private bath, enough distance from my bedroom to restore civilization. She turned in the center of it and looked at me. No. I blinked. No. It's a very comfortable room. It's a very comfortable lie. Dramatic. Accurate. Alexandra. Vivienne. I folded my arms. Where exactly do you expect to sleep? She looked toward the hallway. I followed her gaze. No. You don't even know what I was going to say. Yes, I do. Then why ask? I didn't. She smiled. The absolute nerve. We are not sharing a bedroom, I said. Then don't call it a marriage. It isn't one yet. Engagement, then. Engaged people don't have to share bedrooms. Engaged people who move in together to look convincing usually don't set up separate wings like rival duchesses. This is not funny. It's a little funny. It is not. It is Viv. There it was. Viv. Again. In my house. In the guest suite I had generously selected for her exile. I lifted a hand. Do not short-name me while rejecting excellent accommodations. Alex walked past me into the hallway. I followed, irritated by her back, her shoulders, her calm. My bedroom is private, I said. I didn't say otherwise. You implied otherwise. I implied that separate bedrooms undermine the thing we're supposedly doing. Publicly doing. Alex stopped. Turned. Suddenly we were too close in the upstairs hallway. The light was soft there in late afternoon, filtered through a small arched window at the end of the corridor. It caught the gold in her hair and made the green of her eyes look warmer, deeper. Rude lighting. Unprofessional hallway. If we are pretending to be married, I said, how much of this is actually pretend? Alex's face changed. Not dramatically. Just enough. I told you from the beginning, she said. If I do this, I'm not pretending. My pulse moved. Once. Hard. That is not an answer. It is. No. It's a philosophy. Sometimes those are useful. I prefer terms. I know. Then give me terms. Alex stepped back. Thank God. Possibly. Fine, she said. I won't force your bedroom. I won't force private intimacy. I won't use the arrangement as permission. But I'm not sleeping in a guest house like staff, and I'm not hiding down the hall like a secret. If we need space, we talk about space. We don't architecture our way out of discomfort. I stared at her. That sounded rehearsed. It wasn't. That's worse. I know. I turned away first. Strategic retreat. Not emotional evasion. Those were entirely different things if one used enough marble. We'll revisit, I said. Alex laughed softly. That means no. It means we'll revisit. Rich for no. Careful. Mad or rich. Still deciding. Her smile followed me down the hallway. The next 3 days did not feel like falling. Falling was too poetic. Too passive. It felt more like a hostile merger. Documents appeared. Calendars shifted. My mother's assistant coordinated with my assistant in a display of administrative betrayal, so elegant it almost deserved applause. Alex's lawyer reviewed a narrow private agreement that, at her insistence, described compensation for time, public appearances, privacy disruption, relocation logistics, and reputational risk. Not affection. Not obedience. Not performance. Time. Risk. Boundaries. Alex refused any language that made her sound like an employee in my personal life. I respected that. I also hated that I respected that. The ring appeared on my hand for the first time at a small museum board luncheon on Thursday. I put it on in the car. Stared at it. Took it off. Put it on again. My driver pretended not to see. Good man. When I arrived, 3 women noticed within 4 minutes. One gasped softly. Another touched my arm. The third said, Vivienne, how wonderful, with the kind of warmth that meant she had already known and was pleased to have visual confirmation. By the time Alex arrived, wearing her own understated band and a navy suit that made me briefly forget my position on breathing, the room had adjusted. Not accepted. Adjusted. That was how these circles worked. Reality was less important than confident presentation. Alex crossed to me, kissed my cheek lightly, and said near my ear, You look like you're planning to prosecute the salad. I smiled for the room. Through my teeth, I said, You're late. I'm exactly on time. You arrived after me. That's not late. That's dramatic support. You're enjoying this far too much. No, she said, drawing back just enough to look at me. I'm enjoying you pretending not to. The room blurred for half a second. Her eyes were bright. Her smile was controlled. My ring suddenly felt warm. Dangerous woman. Wrong woman, sweetheart. Still wrong. Probably. That afternoon, A photograph of us leaving the luncheon reached my mother before I reached the office. Better. Alexander should stand slightly closer next time. You are blocked. You say that every year. Me, I mean it now. No, you don't. Also, your ring suits you. I did not answer. At 6, Alex texted, your mother says I should stand closer. My mother should join a monastery with poor Wi-Fi. She also says your left side photographs better. Do not listen to her. Is she wrong? That is irrelevant. So no. I dislike you. That's becoming less convincing. I stared at the message, then set the phone down like it had bitten me. The problem was not Alex's flirting. I could handle flirting. I had handled far worse in boardrooms, restaurants, fundraisers, elevators, and once, memorably, during a litigation meeting where opposing counsel decided charm might distract me from a breach clause. It did not. The problem was Alex's accuracy. She flirted, yes, but then she stopped exactly when stopping mattered. She teased, then respected. Pressed, then waited. Entered my space, then made me name whether I wanted her there. It was maddening. It was also very hard to dismiss as shallow. By Saturday morning, Alex moved in. Not fully. Not permanently. Not according to any emotional definition I was prepared to endorse. But a car arrived at 10 with 2 garment bags, 3 suitcases, a crate of books, a box of supplements, a folded yoga mat, and what appeared to be an entire drawer of perfectly organized workout clothes. I stood in the foyer watching 2 men carry the suitcases upstairs. Alex walked in behind them carrying a plant. I looked at it. No. It's a plant. I can see that. Then why no? Because it implies roots. Alex grinned. It implies air quality. I have air. You have controlled oxygen with trust issues. I looked at the plant again. What is it? Olive tree. You brought a tree into my house. A small one. Symbolic. Hydrated. Do not charm me with botany. I wouldn't dream of it. She placed the olive tree near the window in the living room. It looked good there. Obviously. Infuriating plant. My mother arrived 15 minutes later, uninvited, wearing pale gold sunglasses and satisfaction. Alexandra, she said, kissing Alex's cheek. You brought life into the room. I brought a tree. I stand by my sentence. Mother, I said. Why are you here? To see the transition. This is not a school drop-off. No, darling. At school drop-off, children cry less. Alex coughed. I pointed at her. You are on thin ice. I didn't say anything. You enjoyed something. I often do. My mother walked through the room, examining nothing and everything. Where is Alexandra sleeping? She asked. The guest suite, I said. At the moment, Alex added. I looked at her. My mother smiled. Not broadly. Worse. Progress, she said. No, I said. Potential. No. Architecture under review. Mother. She lifted both hands. I'm not interfering. You are standing inside my house narrating my bedrooms. I'm arranging the conditions for your eventual gratitude. Alex made a soft sound. I closed my eyes. Both of you out. I just arrived, my mother said. You can leave enriched. She kissed my cheek. You're brittle today. I wonder why. Change does that. Fraud does that. Also change. Alex wisely said nothing. My mother left after 20 minutes, but not before telling Maria that Alex preferred ginger tea after long training days and that I should not be allowed to skip dinner, just because she owns blazers. Maria nodded solemnly. The betrayal network expanded. By noon, Alex had taken over 1 cabinet in the kitchen, 2 shelves in the refrigerator, half of the downstairs coat closet, and an alarming portion of my awareness. She did not spread mess. That would have been easier to resent. She was orderly, efficient, quietly respectful of the house. She asked before moving anything. She learned where Maria kept things. She thanked the movers by name. She tipped them herself. She took a call from a client in the garden and spent 15 minutes explaining, very politely, that no, fatigue was not a personality and yes, recovery counted even if it did not photograph well. I stood in the kitchen pretending to read an email and listened through the open terrace doors. Not because I was interested. Because she was loud enough. She was not. Still. When Alex came back inside, She found me staring at my laptop with the concentration of a woman doing absolutely nothing. "You're working hard," she said. "I am." "On what?" "Silence. Important market. Undervalued." She leaned against the opposite counter. "Too comfortable. Always too comfortable." "You want coffee?" she asked. "This is my kitchen." "That wasn't the question. I can make my own coffee. I didn't ask if you were physically capable." I looked up. She smiled. Warm, easy, lightly wicked. The kind of smile that made less disciplined women set fire to their own common sense. Fortunately, I was very disciplined. Mostly. "No," I said. "No coffee. No to whatever this is. This is me offering coffee. This is you behaving like you live here." "I do." "Temporarily. Still counts. Legally questionable. Emotionally irritating?" "Extremely." "Good," Alex said. "I'd hate to be ineffective." She made coffee anyway. One for herself. One for me. She placed mine beside my laptop without comment. It was exactly how I liked it. I stared at it. "How did you know?" "Your mother." "I'm going to change my preferences just to punish her." "That seems inefficient." "You're both insufferable. And yet hydrated." "That sentence makes no sense." "You skipped water." "I had coffee." "Coffee is not water." "Are you always like this?" "Yes." "People pay for this?" "A lot." "Voluntarily." "With gratitude." I took the coffee. It was perfect. I hated everyone. By late afternoon, Alex decided I needed to move. "I move," I said from the living room sofa, laptop open. From chair to car to meeting to chair does not count. I walked upstairs. Heroic. I own stairs. You visit them. I am busy. You are stiff. That is rude. That is observation. Your profession has made you socially reckless. My profession has taught me that powerful people often confuse neglect with discipline. I looked at her over the laptop. She stood in the doorway wearing leggings and a soft gray sweatshirt, hair loose around her shoulders, barefoot on my terracotta floor. Barefoot. In my house. As if the house had invited her personally and forgotten to consult me. "I'm not one of your clients," I said. "No. You're worse." "Excuse me. My clients admit they hired me." "I did not hire you." "No. Your mother did something more creative." "Do not call it creative." "Come outside." "No." 10 minutes. "No." 8. "No." 6, but I'll be annoying about form. I closed the laptop. "Does anyone ever win with you?" "Yes." "Who?" "People who stop arguing and stretch." We went outside. Not because she won. Because I chose health. Independently. The terrace behind my house opened to the garden and pool, with soft stone underfoot and olive trees along the edges. The sun had lowered enough to turn everything honey-colored. Los Angeles did this occasionally. Became beautiful in a way that felt manipulative. Alex laid out 2 mats. I looked at them. "This feels like a trap." "It's mobility." "That is what a trap would call itself." She laughed and gestured to the mat. "Shoes off." "I am not doing anything dramatic." "Your hamstrings agree." "I dislike how much you know about me from limited exposure." "Bodies are honest." "Mine sign no waiver." "It talks anyway." I took off my shoes. The stone was warm under my feet. Alex guided me through simple movements. At least, she called them simple. I called them a sustained personal insult. She did not push too hard. That surprised me. She corrected my posture with light touches at my shoulder, my back, my hip. Each one was professional. Each one was brief. Each one left an afterimage. I became increasingly annoyed with anatomy. "Breathe," she said. "I am breathing." "You're negotiating with air." "I run a company." "I negotiate with everything." "Air doesn't care." "Air lacks ambition." She laughed behind me. I was in a low lunge, one hand on a block, trying to maintain dignity in leggings I had not planned for public viewing. "Shift your weight back," Alex said. Slowly. "I know how to move." "Your spine disagrees." "If you keep insulting my skeleton, this engagement will be very short." "You're doing well." The compliment came quietly. "No tease." I looked down at the mat. "Don't sound surprised," I said. "I'm not." "You usually are." No, Alex said. I'm usually pleased when you stop fighting yourself for 5 seconds. I turned my head to glare at her. Bad choice. My foot shifted. The edge of the mat caught against the stone. My ankle rolled, not badly, but sharply enough that my balance vanished. For one humiliating second, the world tilted. Then Alex caught me. Not by the arm. Not with a dramatic gasp. She moved fast, one arm around my waist, the other bracing under my thigh as my body turned instinctively toward hers. Suddenly I was against her, hands gripping her shoulders, my weight not where it was supposed to be, her body solid and warm beneath my panic. Easy, she said. Her voice was low. Very close. I'm fine, I said immediately. You haven't checked. I'm fine. Viv. I said I'm fine. And I said, easy. She held me for another second. Long enough for my body to register things it had no permission to register. Strength. Heat. The clean scent of her skin. The fact that her hand at my waist was steady, not possessive, not careless. The fact that my fingers had tightened against her shoulders and did not want to let go. Unacceptable. Deeply. Alex lowered me carefully to sit on the edge of a cushioned outdoor chair. I tried to stand. She placed one hand on my shoulder. Don't. Do not command me on my own terrace. Then stop being dramatic on your own ankle. I am not dramatic. Your ankle might be. Let's ask it. I stared at her. She knelt in front of me. Absolutely not. No. That was not a reasonable position for her to take in golden evening light. She lifted my foot gently, fingers warm around my heel, and checked the ankle with professional care. No theatrics. No lingering beyond what was needed. That should have helped. It did not. My body was a trader with luxury tastes. Does this hurt? She asked, rotating slightly. No. This. A little. Sharp. No. Good. Mild strain, maybe. You'll live. Comforting. I can be less comforting if you miss it. I don't. Her thumb rested lightly near my ankle bone. Not moving now. Just there. The garden had gone too quiet. The pool water shimmered behind her. The sun warmed the edge of her hair. Her face was angled down, focused, and I saw, suddenly, the seriousness beneath all that confidence. Alex did not touch carelessly. That was the problem. Careless would have been easy to reject. This was precise. Present. Difficult. She looked up. Our eyes met. Something moved between us. Not new. That was what frightened me. Not new. Recognized. As if the gala, the ring, the rules, the arguments had not created attraction but simply pulled a cover off something that had been sitting there since the first yoga class, when I had noticed her hands and dismissed it as irrelevant. Attractive woman. That was all. Los Angeles was full of attractive women. Attractive women did not require life restructuring. Attractive women did not kneel on your terrace at sunset with your foot in their hand and look at you like they were waiting for your honest answer to a question neither of you had asked. Alex's gaze dropped to my mouth. Briefly. Not enough to be rude. Enough to ruin me. I pulled my foot back. I'm fine, I said. Alex let me go immediately. Of course she did. Good. She stood and offered me her hand. I looked at it. Then at her. Are you planning to carry me? I considered it. Don't. You looked alarmed. I am not a sack of flour. No. You're much more opinionated. I can walk. I'm sure you can. The question is whether you should. I should. Alex tilted her head. Mad or rich? Injured and annoyed. Progress. We're naming feelings. I'm naming facts. She held out her hand again. I took it. Her fingers closed around mine. I stood carefully. My ankle protested, but not badly. Alex stayed close as we walked inside. Too close. Appropriately close. Unfortunately close. At the living room sofa, she finally let go of my hand. Sit, she said. I sat. Not because you ordered me. Obviously. Because I chose. Independently. Correct. She smiled and went to get ice. I watched her walk into my kitchen, barefoot, comfortable, carrying my irritation with her like it belonged in the house too. That evening, my ankle elevated on a pillow, Alex made dinner. Again, not because I needed help, Because she was impossible. She made salmon, roasted vegetables, and a salad with herbs from the planters outside that I had not known were edible. She moved through the kitchen like a woman who understood the value of routine but did not worship it. Efficient, yes. Controlled, yes. But loose around the edges. Music playing low from her phone. Sleeves pushed up. Barefoot still. I sat at the island with an ice pack on my ankle and a glass of water she had placed in front of me without asking. "This is excessive," I said. "The water. All of it. You rolled your ankle." I did not lose consciousness. Not for lack of pride. I dislike being managed. I noticed. "You manage anyway." "Yes." "At least admit you're invasive." Alex looked up from slicing lemon. "I'm not invasive. I'm difficult to ignore." That is the slogan of an invasive person. She smiled. "Do you want me to leave you alone?" she asked. The question was gentle. Too gentle. I looked down at the water. There it was again. The chance to say yes. The space to say yes. She gave it to me cleanly, without punishment attached. And every time she did, my certainty became less useful. "No," I said. The word came out quieter than I intended. Alex did not smile. Did not pounce. Did not make it into victory. She simply nodded once and went back to the lemon. Smart woman. Dangerous woman. Dinner was better than anything I would have made for myself. That was not a high bar, but still. We ate at the kitchen island because I refused to make this feel like a date, and Alex, annoyingly, did not argue. She asked about my company, but not in the usual way. Not scale, valuation, acquisitions, market position. She asked what problem had made me build it in the first place. I told her. More than I planned to. She listened. Actually listened. Then I asked about her studio. She told me she had started private training after getting tired of watching wealthy people outsource responsibility for their bodies while still wanting credit for discipline. She said it without bitterness. With humorous. With edge. But not contempt. "Money tells me what someone can buy," she said, pushing a piece of salmon around her plate. "It doesn't tell me who they are." I looked at her. That sounds rehearsed. It isn't. It should be. It's good. Thank you. You don't resent them. My clients. Rich people. Alex gave me a look. You say that like you're studying an exotic species from a safe blind. I'm aware of the irony. No, she said. I don't resent money. I resent cowardice. Entitlement. Cruelty. Bad tipping. The usual sins. Bad tipping made the list? High on the list. Good to know. She leaned back. Some of my best clients are rich. Some of my worst clients are rich. Same with everyone else. Money just gives people better lighting for their character. I was quiet for a moment. Then I said, "That's why my mother trusts you." Alex's expression shifted. I know. She's afraid someone will want me for what I can provide. Yes. She told you. No, Alex's voice softened. She didn't have to. I looked away. There were moments when my mother's interference enraged me so thoroughly that I forgot the fear underneath it. Then someone else named it, and I hated them for being gentle with it. "You won't," I said. "Won't what?" "Want me for what I can provide." Alex did not answer quickly. I appreciated that. "No," she said. "I won't." Very confident. "Yes." "Why?" "Because what you provide is the least interesting thing about you." My chest tightened. I looked at her. She held my gaze. No smile. No tease. Just the sentence, sitting there between us like a lit match. I picked up my water. Poorly timed compliment. Perfectly timed. "I'm injured." "You're mildly inconvenienced." "I'm vulnerable." "Barely." "You're enjoying this." "Yes," she said. "But not because of the ankle. That should have been illegal." Actually, several things about Alexander Brooks should have been reviewed by committee. The next 2 days blurred into a strange domestic rehearsal. Alex slept in the East guest suite. For now. She did not mention it every hour. Only enough to remain annoying. Her things appeared gradually. Running shoes by the terrace doors. A navy sweater over the back of a chair. A book on stress physiology beside mine in the library. Her olive tree near the window, thriving smugly. My house had begun to include her. Not dramatically. Not sentimentally. Logistically. A worse category, honestly, because logistics were harder to dismiss. On Monday morning, I came downstairs at 6:30 and found her returning from a run, hair damp at the temples, cheeks flushed, black tank clinging to her, sweat shining along her collarbone. I stopped at the bottom of the stairs, only because I had forgotten my phone. Possibly. She looked up. Morning. Do you always run at dawn? Not always. That was not an answer. You always ask questions like a deposition? Not always. She grinned. That was not an answer. I walked past her into the kitchen. Do not drip on the floor. Yes, ma'am. I turned. Alex's smile widened. Careful, I said. With the floor. With the tone. What tone? The one that suggests you enjoy being difficult. I enjoy being effective. At what? She leaned one shoulder against the kitchen doorway. Still damp. Still alive in a way that made the room feel more awake than I had authorized. "I'm getting your attention," she said. I opened the refrigerator. Stared inside. No idea what I wanted. Cold air. Privacy. Divine intervention. Unsuccessful, I said. Liar. I closed the refrigerator. She was still smiling. I considered firing her. From what? Unclear. By Tuesday, my mother had arranged a dinner with 3 couples who needed to see you 2 naturally together. Naturally. At a table for 8. With assigned seating. At my house. I called her. No. Darling, I haven't said hello. No. It's only dinner. With witnesses. With friends. Your friends are witnesses with jewelry. Accurate but unkind. You are not hosting surveillance in my dining room. I'm not. You are. I am what? It's your house. No. Alexandra already said Thursday works. I turned slowly toward the terrace, where Alex was on a call, pacing with one hand in her pocket. Betrayal looked athletic now. She did what? She said your schedule looked clear after 7. I closed my eyes. My schedule is not a public park. It should have more fresh air. Mother. Thursday, darling. And don't worry. I'll bring flowers. She hung up. I walked to the terrace doors and waited until Alex ended her call. She turned. Saw my face. Oh, she said. Oh. Technical term. You told my mother Thursday works? She asked if you were free. And you answered? You were. That was not the question. I suspected. I stepped onto the terrace. My ankle was better, but Alex's eyes dropped to it automatically. That irritated me. Warmed me. Irritated me more. You are not my keeper, I said. No. You do not manage my calendar. No. You do not coordinate with my mother behind my back. Noted. Noted. Yes. That's all. Alex tucked her phone into her pocket. Do you want a fight or a correction? I stopped. What? If you want to fight, I can do that. If you want the behavior corrected, I'll correct it. That was unfair. Mature communication had no place in my outrage. I want both, I said. Alex's mouth twitched. Greedy. Efficient. I shouldn't have answered her without checking with you. No. You shouldn't have. I'm sorry. I had been prepared for resistance. Not apology. It threw off my timing. I folded my arms. Good. But, Alex said, there it is. You also can't keep saying we need to look believable and then hide every time believability requires inconvenience. I am not hiding. You are selecting shadows with excellent taste. Poetic. Wrong. Is it? Yes. She stepped closer. Not much. Enough. Always enough. Then host dinner, she said. Let them see us. Let them stop guessing. And what exactly will they see? That depends on whether you keep looking at me like I'm an intruder or start looking at me like I'm yours. The terrace went silent. My breath did something foolish. Alex did not move. She simply stood there in the late morning light, calm and direct and entirely too aware of the sentence she had just placed between us. Careful, I said. My voice was lower than expected. Alex's gaze flicked to my mouth. Trying, she said. I stepped back first. Obviously. Strategic. You're still apologizing. I did. Again. She smiled. I'm sorry, Viv. Better. The dinner happened. Of course it did. My mother arrived with flowers, 2 bottles of wine, and the expression of someone who considered restraint a tragic underuse of imagination. Alex wore a dark rust silk blouse and black trousers. I wore ivory out of pure defiance, then realized too late that my mother would interpret that as obedience. She did. Her eyes lit. I said, "No." She said, "I didn't speak." You glowed. I'm allowed. The guests arrived, 2 museum couples, one investor and his husband, and Gloria from Alex's studio, who took one look at the two of us standing together in the living room and smiled like she had just been handed theater. "You two look wonderful," Gloria said. "Thank you," Alex said. I said, "We're standing." "That's often where it begins," Gloria replied. My mother nearly levitated. The evening was not a disaster, which annoyed me. Alex was good in my world. Not because she pretended to belong. She did not perform old money. She did not adopt the soft, coded language of people who said summer as a verb. She simply stood in it without shrinking, answering questions with ease, making people laugh without flattering them, redirecting assumptions without making anyone bleed unless they deserved it. At dinner, when one of the men asked whether training difficult women required patience, Alex smiled and said, "Mostly pattern recognition." His husband laughed so hard he had to set down his wine. When another guest asked whether Alex had softened my schedule, I replied, "Alexandra is not responsible for my schedule." Alex looked at me and said, "Not officially." The table laughed. I looked at her. She lifted her glass. I should not have enjoyed that. At dessert, my mother watched us with a softness that unsettled me more than her plotting. Alex noticed too. Later, when the guests had gone and my mother lingered near the door, she touched my arm. "You were good together tonight," she said. I sighed. "Mother, no strategy, just truth." That was rare enough that I let it stand. Then she ruined it. Of course, strategy and truth often share a car. "Good night." She kissed my cheek. Then Alex's. "You're welcome," she said to both of us. "Not now, obviously," Alex replied. My mother looked delighted enough to adopt her on the spot. After everyone left, the house felt different. Not empty. That was new. Alex carried glasses into the kitchen. I followed because it was my house and I refused to look like a guest in it. "You were charming tonight," I said. She glanced at me. "Careful. Compliments have poor boundaries." I said charming, not tolerable. High praise. You handled them well. I like people. Even people like that? Especially people like that sometimes. Why? She rinsed a glass and placed it in the sink. Because everyone is more interesting when they stop performing. And do they? With me? Sometimes. With me. Alex looked at me. You tell me. I leaned against the counter. People perform around me. Yes. Because of the money? Sometimes. The company? Sometimes. My mother? Often. My personality? Alex smiled. Frequently. I should have been offended. I was. A little. "What do you perform?" she asked. I blinked. "Excuse me. For them. I don't perform. Everyone performs. I behave appropriately. That's one of the more expensive forms." I looked away. The kitchen was dim except for the under-cabinet lights and the warm glow from the hall. Outside, the garden was dark. The house was quiet in the way it became when the world had finally left and only the truth of a day remained. "I perform competence," I said. The words surprised me. Alex did not interrupt. I hated that I continued. Not because I'm incompetent. I'm not. I know. But because if I don't perform it perfectly, people start looking for cracks. Alex leaned back against the sink, arms folded loosely. And if they find them, they used them. She nodded slowly. "Not everyone," she said. "No. Just enough." Her eyes softened. I looked down at my ring. The diamond caught the kitchen light. Beautiful. Ridiculous. Mine. Not mine. "Is this a crack?" I asked before I could stop myself. Alex's voice was quiet. "Maybe." I laughed softly. Comforting. Could also be a door. I looked up. She was watching me carefully. Too carefully. "Do you ever get tired of sounding like someone people pay to improve their lives?" "Yes. And Then I say something inappropriate. Please don't. Her mouth curved. Too late. The silence changed again. This time, neither of us moved away from it. My heart had become very aware of itself. Unprofessional. Alex's gaze moved to my mouth. This time, she did not hide it. I should have said something sharp. I had several options prepared. Something about boundaries. Something about performance. Something about the hour. Instead, I said, "Don't look at me like that." Alex's eyes returned to mine. Like what? Like you're deciding something. I'm not. No. No, her voice lowered. I already decided. My fingers tightened against the counter. Alex. She pushed away from the sink slowly. Not toward me yet. Just upright. If I kiss you, she said, I need you to say yes. Not glare at me in legal language. The room seemed to narrow. The refrigerator hummed softly. Somewhere outside, a night bird called once and went silent. This was the moment where a sensible woman stepped back. I was a sensible woman. Historically. On paper. In meetings. Alex waited. That was what undid me. Not the confidence. Not the flirting. Not the body I had noticed long before I admitted noticing it. The waiting. The fact that she wanted and still gave me room to refuse. I looked at her mouth. Then back at her eyes. Yes, I said. Alex did not rush. Of course she did not. She crossed the small distance between us with maddening control, stopping close enough that I could feel the warmth of her before she touched me. One hand lifted to my face. Paused. I nodded once. Her fingers brushed my jaw, light at first, then firmer when I did not pull away. The first kiss was not polite. It was not careful enough to be called careful. It was controlled only because Alex was controlled, because she knew exactly how to enter a moment without breaking it. Her mouth touched mine, warm and sure, and every argument I had built over the past week lost its place in line. I had expected confidence. I had not expected restraint. I had expected heat. I had not expected the slow, deliberate way she kissed me, as if she was not proving a point, not claiming a victory, not performing engagement for invisible guests, but learning me. That was much worse. I gripped the edge of the counter behind me. Alex noticed. She noticed everything. Her other hand settled at my waist, not pulling, just there, asking a question through touch. I answered by leaning in. A small sound escaped her. Very small. Very satisfying. Then the kiss changed. Not rough. Deeper. A little less civilized. The kind of kiss that made an intelligent woman understand why history was full of bad decisions made near walls. Alex stepped closer, and I let her. My hand found the front of her blouse, fingers curling into silk. The fabric was soft, warm from her skin, and the simple reality of touching her, really touching her, not by accident, not for balance, not because my ankle had betrayed me, sent something bright and reckless through my chest. She drew back just enough to breathe. Her forehead nearly touched mine. Still pretending, she asked. Her voice was low. Too low. I opened my eyes. She was smiling slightly, but there was nothing careless in it. No triumph. No joke hiding a wound. Just heat. And patience. And that impossible, invasive honesty. I should have said yes. I should have said this changes nothing. I should have reached for sarcasm like a weapon and restored order. Instead I said, that was one kiss. Alex's smile deepened. Sure. I narrowed my eyes. Do not sure me. Wouldn't dream of it. You are very smug for a woman still sleeping in the guest suite. Her hand at my waist flexed once. Barely. Enough. Am I? I swallowed. Yes. Mad, she murmured, or just rich. I kissed her this time. Not because she won. Not because I lost. Because I wanted to know whether the second kiss would feel less dangerous now that the first had happened. It did not. It felt worse. Better. Worse. By the time I pulled back, my breathing had lost all relationship with dignity. Alex's mouth was softer than it had any right to be, and my kitchen, my orderly, warm, perfectly controlled kitchen, had become the scene of an event I could not categorize without lying. Alex did not chase me when I leaned back. She stayed close, but not too close. Always that. Always the maddening discipline of a woman who knew the difference between desire and entitlement. I hated that it made me trust her more. "Good night, Alex," I said. Her eyes flickered. Alex. Not Alexandra. The shift landed. We both heard it. Her smile softened. "Good night, Viv." I walked upstairs slowly, ankle fine, pulse not. Halfway up, my phone buzzed. Kate. "Kate, Mom says dinner was encouraging. Should I drink?" I stopped on the stairs and looked back. Alex was still in the kitchen, one hand braced on the counter, head lowered slightly as if she too needed a second. Good. At least one of us was not walking away unaffected. I typed, "Me drink." Kate replied, "Kate, oh no." I looked down at the ring on my hand, then toward the kitchen again. Alex looked up. Our eyes met across the warm distance of the house. The first rule had been no other people. The second, apparently, was no pretending. And I was beginning to understand that Alexandra Brooks kept rules much better than I did. If you enjoyed this story, please like, subscribe, and leave a comment. And if you'd like to support me directly, you can do it through Buy Me a Coffee. The link is in the description. Every bit of support helps me create more stories like this for you.